Here's what most men don't understand until it's too late. When you're deeply involved with someone, your judgment gets clouded. You start making excuses for behavior you'd never accept from anyone else. You tell yourself it's not that serious. You convince yourself things will change. But here's the brutal truth. Those small things you're ignoring, they're not small at all. They're warnings. And every day you ignore them, you're giving away pieces of yourself that you'll never get back. Today, I'm going to show you 10 behaviors that should make you reconsider everything. Not tomorrow, not next week, immediately. Because understanding female psychology isn't about playing games or manipulation. It's about recognizing patterns that destroy men who refuse to see them. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and drop a like on this video. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Where are you watching from? Because this message needs to reach every corner of the world. Men everywhere are facing these same challenges, and it's time we talked about them honestly. Now let's get into it. Starting with a behavior that most men brush off as harmless, but is actually the first step toward complete disrespect. Number 1, she constantly seeks validation from other men. Listen carefully because this one destroys more relationships than most men realize. If the woman you're with is constantly fishing for attention from other guys, whether it's through social media, at social gatherings, or even right in front of you, that's not confidence. That's insecurity dressed up as charm, and you're paying the price for it. A woman who truly values what she has with you doesn't need a parade of men confirming her attractiveness. She's not posting provocative content online waiting for hundreds of comments. She's not entertaining flirty messages from random guys. She's not giving her number out just to be friendly. These aren't innocent behaviors, and they're red flags wrapped in excuses. Here's what's really happening. When she seeks constant validation from other men, she's telling you something critical. You're not enough to satisfy her need for attention, and that need, it's a bottomless pit. No matter how much you give, it will never be enough, because the problem isn't you. It's her relationship with herself. The dangerous part is how this erodes you over time. At first, you try to compete. You give more compliments, more attention, more reassurance. But it's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. The more you pour in, the emptier it gets. Eventually, you're exhausted, resentful, and wondering why you're never enough. And here's the part that really stings. While you're breaking your back, trying to be sufficient, she's already got one foot out the door, keeping her options open. Because a woman who needs validation from multiple men isn't committed to building something real. She's committed to feeling desired, and you're just one source among many. If you're with someone like this, understand that this behavior doesn't improve with time. It escalates. Today, it's harmless flirting. Tomorrow, it's emotional affairs. Eventually, it's betrayal. Don't wait around to see which stage comes next. Number 2, she refuses to take accountability for anything. Pay close attention to what happens when she makes a mistake. Does she own it? Does she apologize genuinely? Or does she twist the situation until somehow you're the one apologizing for her error? This is one of the most toxic patterns you can encounter, and it's surprisingly common. A woman who can't take accountability is operating from a place of ego, not partnership. In her mind, admitting fault equals weakness, so she'll do mental gymnastics to avoid it. She forgot your birthday. Well, you should have reminded her. She lied about something. You made her feel like she couldn't tell the truth. She disrespected you in front of others. You're too sensitive. Notice the pattern. Every road leads back to you being the problem. This isn't just frustrating, it's psychologically damaging. Over time, you start questioning your own perception of reality. You begin to wonder if maybe you really are overreacting, too demanding, or too sensitive. This is exactly what she wants, because once you doubt yourself, she never has to change. Here's the reality check you need. In any healthy relationship, both people take responsibility for their actions. Both people say, "I'm sorry, I was wrong," when appropriate. Both people work to fix their mistakes rather than deflecting blame. If you're in a dynamic where apologies only flow in one direction, you're not in a partnership. You're in a dictatorship where you're the only citizen expected to follow the rules. This behavior reveals something deeper about her character. If she can't admit fault in small things, she'll never take accountability for big things. And when major issues arise, and they will, you'll be left holding all the responsibility while she plays the victim. That's not a relationship. That's slow motion destruction of your self-worth. A man who knows his value doesn't accept being the scapegoat for someone else's inability to grow. If she can't own her mistakes, she can't be trusted with your future. Number 3, she disrespects your boundaries repeatedly. Boundaries aren't suggestions. They're not negotiable points in a relationship debate. They're fundamental requirements for your well-being, and any woman worth your time will respect them. So, when she consistently crosses lines you've clearly drawn, that's not a misunderstanding. That's a choice. Maybe you've told her you need certain time for yourself, your work, or your personal growth, but she constantly interrupts music or makes you feel guilty for taking it. Perhaps you've expressed that certain topics or behaviors make you uncomfortable, yet she brings them up or engages in them repeatedly. Or maybe you've set financial boundaries and she pushes you to break them just this once, which turns into a pattern. Here's what you need to understand about boundary violations. They're tests. She's testing to see how much she can get away with, how far she can push before you actually enforce consequences. And every time you let a boundary violation slide, you're teaching her that your words don't mean anything. You're showing her that your needs are negotiable and that her desires will always take priority. The psychology behind this is manipulation through erosion. She doesn't need to destroy your boundaries all at once. She just needs to chip away at them slowly, day by day, until you don't even remember what your standards used to be. Before you know it, you're living a life that looks nothing like what you wanted, and somehow you agreed to all of it. A woman who respects you will honor your boundaries even when she doesn't fully understand them. She might ask for clarification. She might discuss them with you, but she won't deliberately violate them because she recognizes that respecting your boundaries is respecting you as a person. If your boundaries are constantly being trampled, you have two choices. Enforce them with real consequences, or accept that you'll spend this relationship being walked over. Most men choose the latter because they're afraid of conflict or losing her. But here's the truth. You've already lost her respect. And without respect, what exactly are you holding on to? Number 4, she's inconsistent with her affection and attention. Today, she's all over you, telling you you're amazing, making plans for the future, showing affection like there's no tomorrow. Next week, she's cold, distant, barely responding to your messages, acting like you're an inconvenience. If this roller coaster sounds familiar, you're dealing with someone who's either deeply unstable or deliberately manipulating you. Neither option is good. Inconsistency and affection is one of the most psychologically damaging patterns because it creates what's called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same principle that makes gambling addictive. You never know when the next reward is coming. So you keep playing, keep hoping, keep investing. She's turning your relationship into a slot machine, and you're the one losing everything. Sometimes it's about control. By withholding affection unpredictably, she keeps you off balance, always chasing, always trying to win back that warmth you once had. Other times, it's because you're not her priority. When she's bored or has nothing better going on, you get her attention. When something more interesting comes along, you're shelved. The impact on you is devastating. You start monitoring your own behavior obsessively. What did I do wrong? What changed? How can I get back to how things were? You become hypervigilant, walking on eggshells, tailoring your entire existence around our unpredictable moods. That's not love. That's training you like a dog, and you're letting it happen. A healthy relationship has consistency. Yes, people have off days. Yes, stress affects everyone, but there's a baseline of respect and affection that remains steady. If you're with someone whose temperature toward you changes with the wind, you're not building a relationship. You're riding an emotional disaster waiting to crash. The hardest part about this pattern is that during the good phases, things feel incredible. She's everything you wanted, and you convince yourself the bad phases are worth it, but they're not, because you're sacrificing your peace, your stability, and your mental health for moments of affection. That should be your baseline, not your peak. Number 5, she compares you to other men. Nothing destroys a man's confidence faster than being constantly measured against other men and found lacking. If she's always pointing out what her ex did better, what her friend's boyfriend provides, or what some random guy has that you don't, she's not trying to motivate you. She's trying to break you down. This behavior comes from a place of deep manipulation. By constantly comparing you unfavorably to others, she accomplishes several things at once. First, she lowers your self-esteem, making you feel like you need to prove yourself to her constantly. Second, she establishes that you're replaceable, that there are plenty of other options out there. Third, she creates a moving target where you're never quite good enough, no matter what you achieve. Here's the truth about comparisons. A woman who loves and respects you celebrates what you bring to the table. She doesn't measure you against a checklist of what other men have done. She appreciates your unique qualities, your specific strengths, your particular way of showing up in the world. When she starts comparing, she's revealing that she doesn't actually value who you are. She values what she can extract from you. The dangerous part is how this worms into your psyche. You start second guessing everything about yourself. Your career, your appearance, your personality, your abilities. Nothing feels good enough anymore because you're always competing with ghosts, with fantasies, with carefully curated social media versions of other people's lives. And here's what makes it even worse. The men she compares you to, they're probably not real versions of themselves either. She's comparing you to highlight reels, to exaggerated stories, to selective memories. You're competing with illusions while sacrificing your real self-worth in the process. A strong woman doesn't need to tear her man down by comparing him to others. She builds him up by recognizing his value. If you're with someone who uses other men as weapons against your confidence, understand that this will never stop. Even if you improve in every way she suggests, she'll find new comparisons, new ways to make you feel insufficient, because the goal isn't your improvement. The goal is your submission. Number 6, she isolates you from your friends and family. This is one of the most dangerous red flags because it happens gradually, almost imperceptibly. At first, she just doesn't like one of your friends. Then she has problems with your family. Before long, every important relationship in your life is somehow problematic, and you find yourself increasingly alone with only her as your social world. Isolation is a classic control tactic. Here's how it works. By cutting you off from your support system, she eliminates anyone who might point out her toxic behavior. Your friends who would tell you, "Man, this isn't normal." Gone. Your family who would notice you've changed, minimized. Anyone who knew you before her and could remind you of who you used to be, systematically removed from your life. She'll have reasonable sounding excuses for all of it. Your friend is a bad influence. Your family doesn't understand her. They're all trying to break you two up. They don't want you to be happy. And because you care about her, you start seeing these relationships through her lens. Slowly, you cut people off, decline invitations, create distance, all in the name of keeping peace with her. But here's what's really happening. With each relationship you sacrifice, you lose a piece of your identity. You lose perspective. You lose people who care about your well-being outside of what you can provide to her. And the more isolated you become, the more dependent you are on her for everything. Validation, companionship, identity, purpose. This is how good men end up in situations they never imagined. They wake up one day and realize they have no one to turn to, no one who really knows what they're going through, no support system to help them leave, even when they want to. The isolation has done its job perfectly. A woman who truly loves you wants you to have rich, meaningful relationships outside of her. She encourages your friendships, respects your family, and understands that you're a fuller person when you have a community. If she's threatened by every other important person in your life, it's not because she loves you so much. It's because she wants to control you completely. Don't sacrifice your people for someone who's using isolation as a weapon. Those friends and family members, they'll still be there when you finally see clearly, but the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to rebuild those bridges you burned for someone who never deserved that level of sacrifice. Number 7, she's financially irresponsible and expects you to cover it. Money reveals character like almost nothing else. If she's consistently making poor financial decisions, racking up debt, spending beyond her means, and then looking to you to bail her out, that's not just immaturity. That's a preview of your future if you stay. Financial responsibility in a partner isn't just about money. It's about values, priorities, and respect. A woman who can't manage her finances is showing you that she lacks self-control, planning ability, and consideration for future consequences. When she expects you to fix her financial mistakes, she's telling you that your hard work exists to subsidize her poor choices. This pattern typically escalates. It starts small. Can you cover dinner? I'm a little short this month. Then it's larger. Can you help with my rent, my car payment, my credit card bill? Before you know it, you're financing an entire lifestyle while she contributes little to nothing financially or otherwise. And somehow you're the bad guy if you ever say no. Here's the psychology behind this. She's treating you like a resource, not a partner. Your value to her is directly tied to what you can provide materially. And the moment you can't or won't provide it, watch how quickly her affection disappears. That's not love. That's transactional thinking dressed up as a relationship. The truly damaging part is how this affects your future. If you're serious about this woman, you're looking at a lifetime of financial stress. Your goals get pushed aside for her wants. Your savings evaporate into her spending habits. Your security is constantly threatened by her inability to manage money. That's not a partnership. That's a financial anchor dragging you down. A responsible woman manages her own finances, contributes fairly to shared expenses, and respects the effort you put into earning money. She doesn't see you as an ATM with emotions. If you're with someone who does, understand that this won't change just because you make more money or get married. It will only get worse because she'll feel even more entitled to your resources. Your financial stability isn't just about comfort. It's about freedom, security, and the music ability to build a future you want. Don't let someone else's irresponsibility destroy what you've worked hard to create. Number 8. She never prioritizes your needs or desires. Relationships are about reciprocity. Both people's needs matter. Both people's desires deserve consideration. So if you notice that somehow everything always revolves around what she wants, where she wants to go, what she wants to do, and your preferences are consistently dismissed or ignored, you're not in a partnership. You're in servitude. This imbalance doesn't happen overnight. It builds gradually. First, you're just being flexible, compromising, going along to get along. That's normal. But flexibility becomes habit. Compromise becomes expectation. And suddenly you can't remember the last time you did something you actually wanted to do. Your life has become entirely about accommodating her. Here's what makes this particularly insidious. She'll make it seem reasonable. She's more particular about restaurants, so you always choose hers. She has stronger opinions about entertainment, so you watch what she wants. She needs certain things, so your needs take a back seat. And because you care about her happiness, you go along with it, not realizing you're establishing a permanent hierarchy where she ranks above you in every decision. The psychological impact is profound. When your needs are consistently deprioritized, you start to feel like they don't matter. You begin to think that wanting things for yourself is selfish. You internalize the message that your role is to facilitate a life, not to have a fulfilling life of your own. That's not love. That's the slow eraser of your individuality. A healthy relationship involves give and take. Sometimes you do what she wants. Sometimes she does what you want. Often you find compromises you both enjoy. But there's a balance, a recognition that both people's happiness matters equally. If that balance doesn't exist, you're not in a relationship. You're an accessory to her life. Don't confuse sacrifice with love. Real love doesn't require you to disappear. If you're with someone who never considers what you need or want, she's showing you exactly how much you matter to her, and the answer is not nearly as much as you matter to yourself. Number 9, she threatens to leave. During every disagreement, conflict is normal in relationships. How you handle it reveals everything. If every time you disagree or stand up for yourself, she threatens to leave, threatens to find someone better, or holds the relationship hostage to get her way, that's emotional terrorism, and you shouldn't tolerate it for another second. This tactic is pure manipulation. By threatening the relationship's existence every time there's conflict, she's training you never to disagree with her. You start avoiding difficult conversations. You swallow your concerns. You accept behavior you know is wrong because the alternative, her leaving, feels too painful. She's weaponized your attachment to her to control your behavior completely. Here's what's really happening psychologically. She's creating a dynamic where you're always afraid, always on edge, always worried that one wrong move will end everything. This fear keeps you compliant, keeps you small, keeps you from ever standing up for yourself. Because every time you consider setting a boundary or expressing a need, you hear her voice threatening to walk away. The cruelest part about this pattern is how it distorts your understanding of commitment. Real commitment doesn't involve constant threats of abandonment. Real love doesn't hold the relationship over your head like a sword. In a healthy partnership, both people feel secure enough to have difficult conversations without the nuclear option being deployed every single time. And here's the truth that's hard to accept. Someone who threatens to leave constantly either doesn't actually value the relationship that much or knows that you value it more than she does and is exploiting that imbalance. Either way, you're with someone who's comfortable using your fear of loss to control you. A strong woman addresses conflicts directly. She doesn't need threats and ultimatums to have her way. She discusses, she negotiates, she works with you to find solutions. If your partner's default response to disagreement is threatening abandonment, she's not mature enough for a real relationship, and you deserve better than to live in constant fear of being discarded. Number 10, your gut tells you something is wrong. This last one is the most important. Despite everything else on this list, despite any specific behaviors, pay attention to your gut instinct. If something feels off, if you feel anxious, uneasy, or increasingly unhappy for no clear reason you can articulate, that's your subconscious picking up on patterns your conscious mind hasn't fully processed yet. Don't ignore it. Men are taught to ignore their intuition, to be logical, to need concrete evidence before acting. But your gut instinct is incredibly sophisticated. It's processing thousands of micro signals, inconsistencies, and patterns that your and conscious mind hasn't caught up to yet. That uncomfortable feeling isn't paranoia. It's wisdom trying to protect you. Maybe you can't point to one specific thing she does wrong. Maybe she hasn't violated any obvious boundary, but you feel drained after spending time with her. You feel anxious when your phone rings. You feel relief when plans get canceled. You feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells. These feelings are data. They're telling you something critical about the health of this relationship. Here's what happens to men who ignore their gut. They override their instincts with rationalizations. She's not that bad. Every relationship has problems. I'm probably overreacting. Maybe I'm the problem. They gaslight themselves until that clear inner voice becomes a whisper they can barely hear. And by the time the evidence becomes undeniable, they've wasted years and suffered damage that takes even longer to heal. Your intuition exists to protect you. It's an evolutionary advantage that kept your ancestors alive, and it's trying to keep your emotional and psychological well-being intact. Now, when it tells you something is wrong, listen. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to prove your case in court. You just need to trust that inner wisdom that's looking out for your best interests. A relationship should make you feel more yourself, not less. More confident, not more anxious, more peaceful, not more stressed. If your gut is screaming that something isn't right, it's right. And the longer you ignore it, the more damage you'll sustain. So, there you have it. 10 red flags that should make you seriously reconsider your relationship, not eventually, but immediately.